So I'm here to talk about our farm. So it's Wild Atlantic Hemp. So we cultivate hemp, and the actual scientific name for hemp is Cannabis sativa. So we're growing cannabis in West Clare. So the journey we've been on has been a long journey. I started in 2018 when we got our first hemp cultivation license from the Department of Health, and we finally got our product, which we have some free samples over here on the market, in 2021. So what it is, it's a food supplement made from the hemp plant. It's called CBD oil. But when we were starting, before 2018, before REGINA project, we had YouTube and we had books, and we read an awful lot about regenerative agriculture, living soil, mycelium networks, biochar from, I think, the predominantly American experts. So when we just set up, this is from our website, so Wild Atlantic Hemp is a family-run farm in County Clare, growing cannabis in living soil and producing CBD oil through a solvent-free process. So this is some of the experts we learned from. So on the top there is a guy called Jeff Lowenfels. He wrote 3 books called the Teeming with Trilogy. So teeming with fungi, teeming with nutrients, and teeming with microbes. And we were very excited to meet him there, so we got our book signed. But we also had Elaine Ingham and a guy called Kevin Jodry. So they were pretty much the driving force behind a lot of the knowledge we gathered before we started growing. So this, I don't know if these will work, but I'll just talk you through them. So in 2018, when we started, it was very, very difficult to get a thing called biochar. But biochar was going to be the building block for how our farm was going to be regenerative. So biochar it's charcoal, basically. It's organic matter that's been pyrolyzed. So it's basically baked without oxygen, and it leaves just pure charcoal. And that charcoal has loads and loads of capillaries in it, and it gives lots of surface area for microbes to live in. So we would make biochar ourselves on the farm by ourselves, and then I suppose we put it up on our Instagram. And we also made microbial teas. So our microbial tea would be worm castings, local seaweed, local mycelium, all kind of bubbled together with molasses. And we would add that to the biochar, and then we'd put that into the soil, and that was our fertilizer. So just at the bottom here, you can see on the left, so this is the first year we were growing. You can see the plants that didn't get any microbial tea or biochar on the left, and you can see the plants that did get, and obviously a significant difference. So why did we decide to be regenerative? There's a lot of different reasons. So for the first one, which was really important, was hemp and cannabis is phytoremedial or bioremedial. So basically what it can do is it can absorb different chemicals out of the ground. It's been used in places like Chernobyl to remediate the soil from radiation. It's used in mining where there's like tailings to clean the soil there. So we knew it could pull up heavy metals, and we knew it could pull up glyphosates and herbicides, and we knew that was going to be a problem for our project because we were producing a food product. So we knew from straight away that we were never going to be using glyphosate or herbicides. The biodiversity of our plot was really important. It was family land. We had planted a native forest. There were shrews, pheasants, all different kinds of animals growing or living there, so we didn't want to obviously poison them. But the most important thing was we were making a food product that was really, really intensely tested. So in America, where this was kind of just starting to flourish at the time, they were doing really, really intensive testing on the cannabinoid content of the product, but also they were looking at things like heavy metals and glyphosates. And because our product, once it's grown, then is concentrated, those were actually showing up in the oil. So we knew from the get-go, if our product wanted to be a clean, good product, we knew that we couldn't use any of those. So we made it actually a condition of our growing. So once our business took off, we hadn't enough hemp growing ourselves, so we started working with other farmers to grow hemp for us. We now have 10 farmers growing hemp for us. We started working with a group of people, kind of like BASE. We set up the Hemp Cooperative of Ireland, and we shared knowledge and we taught each other what we were doing. But it was a condition of our letter of intention to purchase that no glyphosates or herbicides could be used in the product. So that's, I suppose, this is a picture. Actually, this is not too far from in Cork. This is Bantir. So this is a guy called Jesus, I've forgotten, Bill Buckley. So Bill is growing hemp for us in Cork, and he has his own product. So this is an example of some of the products. So these are farmers that grow hemp regeneratively that we work with, and we process their product into an oil, and then they sell it under their own brand name. So all of that came together then in 2020 when a friend of mine who's a microbiologist in London was looking at our Instagram and saw the massive difference between the growth of on the plots. So she came over to Ireland to do an assessment of the soil, and she was blown away by the impact. So we put all the information together. We applied for a funded project. It was called Hemp for Soil European Innovation Partnership, and it was a bringing together of our local communities. So obviously you can imagine back in 2018 when we live in this place called Loophead, and on one side of us is the Atlantic Ocean. Actually, I should have said that, Wild Atlantic Hemp. The name comes from the Wild Atlantic Way, which is obviously somewhere it's very difficult to grow things. But so we had the Shannon on one side and the Atlantic on the other. So we have a really small community, mostly dairy farmers. They thought we were crazy in 2018 when we started. So when we got this opportunity to get this project up and running, 10 local farmers came on board, 10 dairy farmers came on board, and what we did was grew hemp on their land. So this is the initial assessments that were done. So you can see the massive improvement when biochar and hemp residue was used on the soil. So that was just kind of a preliminary data just to get us going to apply for the project. So the Hemp for Soil EIP, it was community driven, so it was 10 farmers from the Loophead Peninsula. Each farmer gave over an acre of land, and so the project was how regenerative farming methods and hemp cultivation along with a suite of soil analysis could provide quantifiable improvements to soil health. So the project also looked at farm diversification and decarbonising. So our approach, very much like the way Daniel and myself would be growing hemp, we want to increase the organic carbon of the soil. So this is where we use something like biochar. We want to increase the microbial life of the soil. Now, we had been making this microbial tea, but we're now working with dairy farmers who had abundance of slurry. And obviously, to make it something that was more attractive for them, we decided to use slurry as our microbial tea. Obviously, what we wanted to look at as well was the fact that the soil could be remediated. Could hemp actually clean the soil? And then we want to quantify all that through soil testing. So Technical University of the Shannon region, UCD, and actually Chagas came on board as well for the soil, for the worm, for Dr. Carol Melody for the worm count. So why biochar? So as I said, biochar is carbon, similar to charcoal. The benefits to the soil are it has habitat for microbes. The benefit to the environment is it sequesters carbon. So when you grow hemp, a hectare of hemp is supposed to sequester between 11 to 15 tons of carbon, which is more than anything else. And it grows in a very short amount of time. It grows in May to September. So a very short window, it sequesters an incredible amount of carbon. So we wanted to see if we could put that back into the soil. And then the benefits to the farmer was improving growing conditions without the need for expensive artificial fertiliser, because at the time fertiliser was rising significantly, very fast. So why did we use slurry and biochar and mix them together? And this was very difficult process to get right, because we had to mess with slurry all the time. So the benefits to the soil were providing an alternative to artificial fertiliser, but the benefits to the environment was biochar holds onto the slurry, so then it reduces the amount of bleaching, like we were spoken about earlier. A lot of rain, it can wash anything away. So the biochar actually holds onto the slurry, and it stops a lot of that leaching. And so slurry was in plentiful supply, but also one of the things that we noticed was when you add biochar to slurry, it absolutely removes the smell. So when we were hand mixing this, and as we were mixing it, the smell just disappeared. So there was a lot of benefits to mixing slurry with biochar. We actually then spread it with a dribble bar here. That was kind of a nervous time when we were putting biochar into that machine. So why hemp? So the benefits of the soil. So hemp cleans the soil, so it's phytoremedial, and it sequesters a huge amount of carbon. But there was opportunities for farm diversification. And what we were kind of looking at this stage in the project was, could farmers grow hemp, then turn it into biochar, then add that biochar back into their soil? And by making this circular carbon project, could farmers benefit from carbon credits, and it might be the dirty word, benefit from carbon credits, but also improve the soil health and fertilise and reduce the cost of fertiliser. So it was a circular project, but kind of what Rock said earlier, we got a 12-month funded project, which doesn't work when you're doing soil health projects. So this was the experimental design. So hemp was in one plot, hemp and biochar in another plot, and hemp, biochar and slurry in the third plot. And the results were really exciting because we saw an improved growth where the slurry and biochar was mixed, which was what we had hoped. So I have to say a massive thank you to UCD and for TUS and for Chagas. They were incredibly supportive in this project because we got very little funding to pull a lot of this off. So Dr. Kate Randall was from UCD, Dr. Carl Melody was from Chagas, and Dr. Lena Madden was a microbiologist from TUS. So this again is loophead. At the end of this project, we were really proud because obviously 2018, people thought we were crazy, but in 2022, that's us with our community group winning the Irish Pride of Place Award for the Hemp for Soil project as a National Climate Action Award. So we're really delighted. And that project now, we've just kind of in the final stages of approval, we have been part of a Horizon project now, which is going to make Loophead, our community, and our business partners in Horizon project that's going to look at soil health. So we're going to get to continue this project a little bit, but not with the funding we had originally. So that's